The sun was dipping low across the rugged plains of the New Mexico territory. The wind whispered through the mesquite trees, carrying with it the smell of dust, sweat, and a storm yet to come. Rancher Elias Boone, a man in his late 30s, broad-shouldered with eyes hardened by loss, was driving his cattle back toward the corral. He lived a lonely life on his ranch, haunted by memories of his wife who had died years before during childbirth. As Elias closed the gate, his dog barked. At first, he thought it was a coyote creeping near the herd. But then, out from the brush, stumbled a woman, her dress torn, her face smeared with dirt and blood. She collapsed at his feet. "Help me, please," she whispered before losing consciousness. Elias lifted her into his arms, carrying her into his cabin. By lamplight, he cleaned her wounds. She had rope burns on her wrists, bruises along her arms, and cuts across her back. Whoever had done this wanted to break her. When she finally stirred awake, her eyes darted with fear. "Don't look," she cried, pulling the blanket tightly around her shoulders. "Please, don't look." Elias froze, stunned at her desperation. He wasn't sure what she meant, but he spoke gently. "I ain't gonna hurt you, ma'am. You're safe here." But she shook her head violently. "No one is safe. They'll come. They always come. Act 1. The Secret. Her name was Clara Whitfield, a preacher's daughter from the town of Dry Creek. She had been kidnapped 3 days ago by a band of outlaws led by the ruthless Jedediah Cross, a man with a scar running across his jaw and a reputation for cruelty. Clara begged Elias not to ride into town, not to tell the sheriff, not even to light a fire outside. "They'll see. They'll know. And if they find me here, they'll kill you too." But Elias was no stranger to violence. He had once been a deputy, years ago, before he turned to ranching. Something in Clara's trembling voice struck him deeper than he expected. That night, while Clara slept fitfully, Elias found a strange brand burned into her shoulder, the outlaw's mark. It wasn't just cruelty, it was possession. Act 2. Shadows in the Dark. The next day, Elias rode into town under the guise of buying supplies. He quietly asked around and confirmed his worst fear. Jedediah Cross had been raiding settlements, leaving destruction in his wake. And now he wanted Dry Creek. At the saloon, Elias overheard 2 men whispering about the girl, how Jedediah had lost her, how furious he was, and how he'd pay handsomely to get her back. Elias returned to the ranch uneasy. Clara sat by the window, her eyes hollow. "They branded me," she whispered. "Like cattle. He said I belong to him. If anyone sees it, they'll think I'm ruined. That's why I begged you not to look." Elias's fists clenched, but he kept his voice steady. "That mark don't define you. And he sure as hell don't own you." Act 3. The outlaws arrive. 2 nights later, the storm came. Rain lashed against the cabin walls as horses thundered in the distance. The outlaws had found them. Clara panicked. "Elias, run, please. Don't fight them. He'll kill you slow." But Elias loaded his rifle, his jaw set like stone. "I buried one family already. I ain't burying another." The shootout began at midnight. Gunfire cracked through the storm, lightning illuminating the silhouettes of Cross's men as they tried to rush the cabin. Elias fought fiercely, dropping 2 men in the mud. But they were many, and he was one. Just when it seemed hopeless, Clara surprised him. She grabbed a pistol from the table, her hands shaking, and fired at a man trying to break through the window. She screamed as she pulled the trigger, but the bullet struck true. "You got fight in you after all," Elias shouted. Act 4. The Final Confrontation. By dawn, most of the outlaws lay dead or wounded. But Jedediah Cross himself remained, circling the cabin like a wolf. When he finally appeared, Clara froze. He sneered, scar glinting in the rising sun. "Girl, you're mine. Always were, always will be. Ain't no rancher gonna change that." Elias stepped forward, rifle aimed. "You touch her again, you die." The two men faced off in the mud. The wind died, silence hanging heavy. Then, a single gunshot. Jedediah staggered back, clutching his chest. Clara stood behind him, smoke rising from the pistol in her hand. She had made her choice. Act 5, Healing. In the weeks that followed, Clara stayed on the ranch. The nightmares didn't fade quickly, but she grew stronger. She worked the land, helped with the cattle, and learned to shoot without trembling. One evening, as the sun set in crimson over the desert, she stood beside Elias. "You never asked me about the brand again," she said softly. "Weren't my business," Elias replied. "You're more than what he tried to make you." Clara smiled faintly, the first true smile since he had found her. For the first time in a long time, Elias Boone felt hope stir in his heart. The past was scarred into both of them, but together, they were healing.